Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Black Philanthropy Month Give Black, Give Back conversation series. Sadly, this is our last day of our conversation series, but not the last day of Black Philanthropy Month. As you know, if you've been tuning in, then this is Black Philanthropy Month, and there's been lots of conversations across the country. But first, I'm Kia Jarman, co-chair of Give Black, Give Back. I have Lisa Swift Young, who's another co-chair with me, on with us, as well as Audra Cox, our amazing liaison at the Community Foundation. And we work in collaboration with the Community Foundation in Middle Tennessee, really to make sure that we bridge the gap between philanthropy and the Black community. This is our second installment of conversation. So we had one during Juneteenth. Now is Black Philanthropy Month. And then we will also have one in October and then December. So every other month, join in with us and have those conversations with us. Give Black, Give Back really has a threefold mission. You've heard this already if you've been on with us, but in case you're brand spanking new, I want to make sure that you are aware of what we do. We serve as a resource and amplifier for the Black-led funds at the Community Foundation. There are close to, I believe, 50 or so odd funds that are there that are to support the Black community. We also support the efforts of nonprofits that are run by and serve the Black community. And then we provide access and education to the greater community on how to really build and sustain their philanthropic endeavors so that we can strengthen our economy. You can find more information about that at blackgivingback.com. And we invite everybody to go there because I really there's three particular things I want you to do today and for the rest of the month. I want you to share this video or the other videos that we have recorded this week. I want you to comment. So today is all about celebration and celebrating what we've been doing all month and what we will continue to do all year, because it's not just a 1 month thing, this is forever. So comment below, give us your highs and how are you doing, but also tell us your own philanthropy story. Share with us about what you've learned this week or what aha moments you've had. And then the third thing is I want you to give. I want you to take your $1, $100, $1,000, or $1 million. I will not limit you. I want you to drop that into one of those funds on the website, one of those nonprofits, and we'll be featuring some throughout the day so you can learn more about that. Let's do a quick recap. So I'll start off, but then I want to toss it over to my co-hosts on today. We have had a great week talking about really the past, present, and future of philanthropy in the Black community in Nashville in particular, but also globally. And what that has looked like is on Monday, we kicked it off with a wonderful conversation with Bridget Jones, who's the social history curator over at the Tennessee State Museum. And she taught us a lot about the history and foundation of Black Nashville, and then also the many ways, the many organizations, the many roads, the many buildings that are attributed to Black individuals, like the McKissick family, like the Boyd family. You can read about those individuals even on our website, or like the Napier, James C. Napier, and others in our community who have helped to build the foundation. Lisa, share with us the next couple of days that we had after kind of talking about the past.
So Tuesday, hi everybody. So Tuesday, we had the opportunity to talk about building Black wealth. So we kind of went from the past and kind of having a conversation that Kia mentioned before about the history of philanthropy here in the Nashville community. And then the next day, we kind of went into talking and having conversations about the present and what can we do now in the present to actually build Black wealth. And Harry Allen from Studio Bank was able to come on and give us some really great pointers and tips about things that we can do that will directly impact our community. We talked about funds. We talked about, give Black, give back. Specifically, we talked about some small, like start where you are. You don't have to be a millionaire to be a philanthropist, and having that conversation with people to say, okay, hey, a little bit goes a long way. That history that we have of taking care of people in the community is really what philanthropy is really all about. And so building that wealth, not only financially, because I know when people say philanthropist, they think only money, but we're also talking about in your time and your talent. So doing that in actuality is helpful as well. And then yesterday, I had the pleasure of having three dynamic young people, I would like to say, who are just doing some really great things. Shanae and Jordan Matthews of the Matthews Mission Fund, and also Courtney Hale of Knowledge Bank were able to participate. And if you have not had a chance to see that video, I would strongly suggest you go see it. It was a boost for me, just really hearing their stories, the youth that are out there that are able to do that. I was thinking last night, Nina Simone, one of my favorites, to be young, gifted, and Black. And that was exactly what we got yesterday, the young, gifted, and Black. And so just a really great opportunity to meet them and for them to share their story of philanthropy. So that kind of speaks to, you can get started anytime. You don't necessarily have to wait until you get older and have a bunch of money, or, you don't, you have everything out of the house. They're starting now, starting families, having families, and still wanting to give back and making that a legacy so that their children will continue to carry that on. So just a really great opportunity. I was very privileged to have the opportunity. I was so inspired, and hopefully it inspires you to also give and share your stories today as well.
Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, because I know sometimes it takes a minute for people to get in, we're talking about Black Philanthropy Month and the Give Black, Give Back conversation series that we're having, that we're ending on today, but certainly go back and watch some of those videos, because as Lisa just mentioned, it was dynamic conversation. I appreciate you even giving a recap of some of the lessons learned. Audra, what are some of the things, you have been, you've been with Lisa and I on the back end of this for a year now. So it's been almost a year where we've been having this conversation. But what are some of the things that you really took away from the conversation this week? What are some of those aha moments? What are some of those lessons that we should make sure are imparted in our community?
Thank you, Kia. I think this week really has been so emotional for me. As you said, it's been a full year now that the three of us have been together, praying, plotting, and trying to see how we were going to reach the community and share with them the wealth of information and the wealth of power that we have, and we don't realize it. We have stories, we have people who have shown us how to do this. And now it's come almost full circle that we're here and we're sharing those stories with the community. When we were listening yesterday, I was just sitting back and as you both have said, truly amazed at the young people that are taking to heart some of the lessons that their parents and others have taught them, even at a young age, and wanting to impart those stories and those lessons to their family, and then also encourage others to do the same. I think it was Jordan that said education and empowerment is something that he's looking to do in our new space. We all are in new spaces right now, and we can't continue to look at what's in the past and do things the same way and expect the same results. So we're in a new space. We need to do new things. And I'm just elated at what we're doing this week, the rest of the month, and in the months to come. And I'm honored to be a part of two dynamic women who I just sit back and I'll let you guys work. I'll let you do it. I'm so proud of where we are and where you all are taking us. So.
Thank you, Audra. Make sure that you share in the comment your personal testimony about your philanthropic endeavor. This today, we're coming back because we can't get enough of each other. So we're coming back to really celebrate. And today is called Give Black, Give Back Day. And I want to make sure that I recap some of the things I heard as well, because Audra, you really sparked some of the things that I heard. Jordan said something yesterday also that hit me, which was find the language that young people speak and adapt to that. And that's really what one of our real goals here with Black Philanthropy a Month and with our work with Give Black, Give Back is to really reclaim the word philanthropy. Courtney mentioned it as a young person, not even knowing that word was one that he had access to or that he knew. And it's really important that we reclaim our rightful place as stewards of the community. We always have been. Bridget earlier in the week mentioned so many names of so many buildings, so even so many former plantations, so many homes that the Harding family, the Vanderbilts, all of these names of people, DeMumbrian, Donaldson, all these folks. And we hear those names and we see those buildings, and we don't necessarily ask ourselves, I wonder what it took to build that. And so my challenge has really been thinking about every time I pass a building, though I'm not out of the house very often, it is, I wonder what it took to build that and who actually built the foundation of that. And that's what I hope that our listeners and viewers are taking away from this experience is when you pass by something that you see as a kind of a monument to the fabric of Nashville, think about who actually built what that was and how do I contribute to their value and who they are. The other lesson, and I think we've all shared some part of this today, is in a community on the continent Africa. I can't remember which particular country, but there is a saying and a greeting that they say amongst each other, which is something along the lines of "How are the children?" And we want to make sure that when we're thinking about this time of giving and legacy building, that we're thinking about the children, the young people. How are they doing? And when the children are well, the community is well. They're really our most fertile soil, if you think about it that way. When we plant the seeds with them, it has the potential to go a million different places because our children have that much potential. So those are things I learned throughout this week. So I'm always grateful to that. Before I pull up my shared screen, because I also believe that we need to share with the people what they've been waiting for and what they really want to know. Anything else that you all want to share? We're not getting off. We still got plenty of time, but anything else that bubbles up in the conversation we've had this week?
One of the things in particular is I know Jordan and Courtney and Shanae mentioned yesterday about opportunities that we have to impact the community where we are right now. And so just thinking about the things that we can do, and I know backpacks or school supplies or using your contacts. And I just really want to make sure that people kind of hone in on that. I know right now is the time, just so philanthropy, if you're only looking at contacts, can feel like this is not the time to have this conversation. But philanthropy is really about creating those connections and in that sense of community. And we have much more resources than we think. And Akia mentioned before, this is a time of change. This is the time of opportunity. And if, with this level playing field on Tuesday, we talked a little bit more about, we talked to Harry over at the Studio Bank, is that this time has sort of made it level for everyone. And so everyone is struggling to try to figure out a new way. And for us to go back to the continent and look at those stories, the things that are sort of in us, I think we can really make the future what we want it. We have a unique opportunity here, if we look at it that way, to actually really move forward in a way that can be impactful, not only in the present, but in the future. So many things we have, I can't say enough, take the census, make sure you're filling out the census. That's part of, that money that if you don't take the census, then that money doesn't come to our community, and that directly impacts us. That's a way that you can do that you're actually giving money to the community by taking the census, if you want to think about it that way. And then, it goes without saying, but I have to say it again, voting, right? Right. So we have to vote. These are things that we can do that don't cost us money, but in those ways, we are definitely giving back to our community. So I don't want for us to see the things you can't do, but the things that you can do. And that's where we can kind of start. So, those are just two things in particular that I want to make sure that we're always aware that we have the power in those two things.
Thank you for bringing that into the conversation, because I believe, what we've learned throughout this year, but even throughout our life, which is why we came together, is that philanthropy often feels so unattainable because we don't have some of those type of examples that you just mentioned. The census being one of them, we know that our numbers are very low at this point to getting that census complete. And it is our responsibility to complete that because that's how our community receives funds, but it's also how our community gets rezoned. So we start to see how the wealth gap happens. We start to see how our communities get divided, renewed, gentrified in some way. We see that how that happens because of how much investment we put into doing something like the census or going out and voting, and then holding that particular voting block responsible and accountable to what they said. What I often encourage people to do is save all of those flyers and leaflets that you get in the mail. And then when they get into office, take that back and say, no, when are we going to do these things that you said we were going to do? And see how often it changes. That's one very small way in which you can contribute to the philanthropy of our community. I want to shout out some people. I have it up on my phone here. Who just said some good things, positive things. So I see Rondell Richardson. He says, congratulations to the dream team. So we appreciate him. I see Tara Adams. She says, love y'all and the work that you're doing for the community and for those like me who are trying to have these conversations and learn from it. So we appreciate you for that. I see Nicole Olivia Rose, and she says, I really enjoyed this discussion series. Thank you all so much for your hard work on gathering this together. The most impactful thing I learned about was learning more about the Black wealth gap. I have been interested in supporting Black-run banks by opening accounts there. So I'm glad to learn about the banks in Middle Tennessee that will allow me to do that. And she'll definitely be looking into Studio Bank. We also encourage you to look at Citizens Bank, which is our oldest running bank, Black-owned bank. It comes out of the 1 cent bank that that was mentioned on Monday that Bridget mentioned. That bank formation, Citizens came out of that. So we still continue the legacy of Black banking by what was started in the very beginning with Mr. Boyd and several others. I see Robin Davis. She says, hi, everyone. Hi, Robin. Let's see. So we have a few other people who have joined in. We have several folks watching, but thank you all. Please share what you've learned this week. Please make sure you comment, share this video with other people, comment. And then of course, the third thing, the most important thing is to give. You can go to blackgivingback.com to do that. So I'm going to share my screen so that our watchers, viewers can see what we've been seeing and what we've been working on. So, okay, I think everybody can see that. This week, let's see if I make it bigger. This week has been designated, and particularly this day, has been designated as Give Black, Give Back Day by Mayor John Cooper, which is our mayor. We will be every August 13th, we're going to be celebrating this particular day. And so I want to read this resolution because I think it's really important. It has some good stats in there. And I want Lisa then to come behind and talk about some of those statistics because she really holds us and keeps us accountable to those numbers. So from the Office of the Mayor, whereas August is Black Philanthropy Month, observed every August since 2011 as a global celebration and concerted campaign to elevate African descent giving. And whereas engaging and incubating Black philanthropic giving is vital to the vibrancy of the community, and whereas Black leadership in philanthropy is a key to engaging in authentic and informed grant making in communities of color, and whereas according to a 2012 W.K. Kellogg Foundation report, Blacks give 25% more of their income annually than white households. And whereas the Kellogg Foundation also states that nearly 2/3 of African American households donated to organizations and causes totaling $11 billion each year. And whereas the Give Black, Give Back initiative at the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee invites residents to join us as we work together to strengthen our families, our communities, our neighborhoods, and our friends. And whereas the Give Black, Give Back initiative will host a week-long series of virtual programs August 10th through 14th, 2020, with topics that encourage Black philanthropy and generational wealth building. Now, therefore, I, John Cooper, Mayor of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, do hereby proclaim August 13th as Give Black, Give Back Day in Nashville and encourage all citizens to join me in this worthy observance. Give Black, Give Back Day, y'all. I could not be happier because we have worked so diligently to ensure the exact words that are in that proclamation come to pass, and that people come to see that, because it's not that what we're doing is new. It is that what we're responsible for doing is highlighting what has already been happening. And so, Lisa, I want you to talk a little bit about your reaction to this proclamation, but also talk about those numbers and give us some context, because you're always really good about helping us understand what $11 billion really looks like. Billion with a B, in case I'm not coming through clearly. So, Lisa, tell us a little bit more about that particular number. Give us some of that.
So, when we first started this work in particular, and, my family has a fund at the Community Foundation that we started, I'll talk about a little bit later. But one of the things in particular was, how do we, has this been done before? Who's doing this? I mean, we hear the big names, Oprah and Robert Jones, who gave the scholarships at Morehouse. Maybe I'm speaking that into existence. So I started looking at the data specifically. And one of the things that really shook me was looking at how African Americans give in relationship to other communities. And African Americans traditionally across the board, regardless of income, give more per capita as far as to philanthropy or social organizations than any other group in America. So let that sink in. We know the wealth gap. We know that white families have significantly more wealth than Black families do. So the assumption would be that through trickle down economics, that there would be more Caucasians giving. We hear the big names that we know give money, and we assume that they give more money because they give these big blocks of dollars, millions of dollars at a time. But when you work the numbers out, even though the wealth gap is significantly not in our favor, we are giving more per family to the tune of $11 billion dollars a year. Now, when you put that in, if you're watching, those are things that you know about. These are things that we've probably bought and invested in. We give more per capita than their actual worth. If they were to sell, we could literally buy a Spanx and an Armor All every year. Like, we give away that much money. Now, we give it in different ways. We give it, and this is financially. So this is not, we're not even talking about the time and talent part. We're talking about the money. So a lot of times we're giving it away to our churches, which is a huge segment that we give money to. So that is philanthropy. So if you are a tither, or if you're giving to a institution of spirituality or religiosity, then you are a philanthropist. So you can call yourself a philanthropist. And we give money to different organizations. So on the flip side of that, you would think that we get a lot of money to the Black community, but the numbers don't work out that way. Overall, about 3% of money that's given to philanthropy, like to United Way or to these big organizations that we think, only 3% ends up back into the Black community. So we are giving away literally $11 billion a year. But if we don't give them to Black-led foundations, that money does not come back to our community, to the tune of, when we give out to a institution that's not Black-led, only 3% of that actually ends up in our community. So it is vitally important that we uplift our foundations that are associated with the Community Foundation, that are associated with other foundations across the country, and making sure that we give strategically to Black-led foundations, because that will be the turning point for our community. We talk about right now protesting, and we talk about making some changes and doing some equity, a realignment. This is one of the places where we can significantly improve our status, right? So making the intentional choice to find a Black-led foundation in your community, if you wish, or one that's a larger one, but making sure of that, because Black-led foundations give to Black communities. Give Black, you give back. So I'm going to ask you to take that $11 billion that we are giving and be intentional, be strategic, be vigilant to make sure that it's a Black-led foundation. And I believe that when we do that, we will significantly change the trajectory, not only of our present, but of our future. Sorry, that was a soapbox. I kind of
No, stay on the soapbox. I think we it's been important to us to maintain that soapbox, because very often, we grow tired of, because we've been doing this for a long time as a community. So this is something that for thousands of years, literally, as long as there's been Black and Black culture, wherever we have been, we have given in some way, whether through our time, talent, or treasures. And so it's important that we stay on the soapbox and we don't get tired, and we refresh ourselves. So Audra, I'd love to hear from you about your thoughts about this day. We did not know what it was going to look like a year ago, but we are here. So what are your thoughts?
Again, I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful. And in light of today's climate, we don't have any time to waste. We don't. I'll end with something in a minute, but I'm overwhelmed at us having these conversations, bringing and inviting people to the table who can use their voice in their spaces to sorry, I'm getting emotional simply because I'm thinking a lot about my mom, my sisters, and some of my family members who made sacrifices for me and my it's in us to give back. It is in our nature to do. And to your point, we don't consider it philanthropy. We've our neighbors are and always have been our neighbors, and we do for them sometimes not realizing and knowing who's going to help take care of our family, but the divine has always taken care of us and will continue to take care. As long as we give out, it comes back. It comes back to us in so many different ways. And so I'm just full right now. I really am, because like you said, this time last year we didn't know what things were going to look like. This time last month we didn't know what things were going to look like, because we all, like I said, are in a different space right now. But we're taking this time, and I heard someone say, and I honestly, because I'm trying to fill my mind with so many positive things during the day and in the evening, but someone said recently, what if everything we're going through now is preparing us for what we've been asking for? And we've got to be ready. We've got to be ready. So yeah, those are my feelings.
I love that charge of we've got to get ready, because that is what this time is about. We can certainly, there's enough in the world to fill all of us with the anger that is rightfully understood. It is also an opportunity for us to sit in that, all of us, and figure out what we're being prepared for. What is this moment for? And so I often ask myself the question, what am I supposed to learn? Because I know that if I'm open to the learning, and that's what we're asking people to do. That's what we asked for when we asked for this collaboration with the Community Foundation, was, will you all allow us to help people see the truth? Will you all allow us to do that? Because we know that we're going to bring something very different than what is expected or has previously been done. And so I think that's the right thought. And I also want to talk about for just a second what you just mentioned about family. And so earlier in the week, Bridget brought into our conversation about those family members who did make those sacrifices, who worked in jobs that were looked at by this generation as disgraceful in some regards, so that we could walk around with the amount of grace that we have. And I've been in reflection about that since earlier this week, because as I mentioned about even my own great grandmother and her relationship, and what the world knew of her was separate from her job, because she had the opportunity to teach them. That's really what it was, teach them grace, but also understand how to operate in different spaces. I want to make sure, because I want us to feature some organizations that are on our website, but also some that may not be on our website. And so we're inviting people to really, if you think that you want to have a fund or a foundation in some way, we invite you to have a conversation with any of us to really work out the details for what it means to start a fund. Lisa has started a fund. I am a part of a couple of funds at the Community Foundation. Of course, Audra has helped shepherd many people through that process. So we invite you to be able to do that. It does not take as much as you think. And if you're not ready to be at the Community Foundation, that's also why we're here, is to help support you through that as well, so that you still know that just because you don't have a fund at the Community Foundation, or just because you're not ready for a fund, does not make you any less of a philanthropist. So we want to do that. But also, if you're a nonprofit organization, we want to make sure that you also get yourself in a position where you have your 990 and all your documents to get on Giving Matters, because that's where the large funders give their money to. But that's also where we can encourage, on the Give Black, Give Back side, our funds to help support you as well. I want to shout out a few more folks who are on here. So I see Robin David is on here, and so she's been a great commenter. So we appreciate you, and I'll shout you out a little bit more in a moment. Patricia Lee Cole says, "Great series. Thank you for educating us about Black philanthropy. Good job, all." And so Robin David says she has a foundation in memory of her youngest son. It's the Golden Foundation here in Nashville. He unfortunately was shot in Murfreesboro in 2015. And so we want to lift you up and wrap our arms around you, because I think that's the first thing that we always know how to do. And then secondly, she even mentions that this is an answered prayer for Nashville. So we also now want to figure out how we help support you in your fund, and how we get more information about your fund. So I know, because I see Audra over there writing, that she has plans for us to reach out afterwards. But also, Audra, can you unmute really quickly and give your email address, just so we can drop that in, so that Robin can send you a message, so that we can get started in the conversation with her?
Sure. Audra at AUDRA@cfmt.org.
So that's Audra at cmft.org.
CFMT.
CFMT, thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I know Kelly's behind the scenes. She's doing an amazing job she's gonna drop it in just a second. I know she will. So Lisa, we have, we've talked lots of times, but I think it's always important for you to talk about your fund, the encouragement for your fund. Oh, my fake nose ring fell out, guys. Sorry. I'm playing with it for the day to try to figure out if I like the look or not. So we're all family, so I just tell you. Anyway, right? That's why I say it's a celebration. It's all fun. But I think it's important, Lisa, for you to talk about the encouragement for your fund, like what got you excited about it, who you do your fund with in collaboration with. Talk a little bit about that, so we can learn more about it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen for just a moment, so people can actually see how to find your fund. So actually, let me do that first, and then I will come back to your face. So hold on just a second. So I'm going to share my screen so that we can all see. So if you go to blackgivingback.com, then you will be taken to our website, which I believe you all probably can see at this point. Hope you can. And which is also routed to the Community Foundation. So everything is still there. So you can still see all that you need to see. And you can find Audra, you can find Lisa and I if you need to. So we have a fund page. So let me actually take you there so you can see first. So if you're on our kind of home page, it's our main page. If you scroll down to the bottom, scroll, then you will start to see more about us. And so then we'll go here to our funds, learn more. And so now we're here. So, and then we could click on Lisa's fund, which is called Change We Seek Fund. And you can click on any of these funds. There are actually 47 funds here. We're adding them weekly and monthly. So we will increase that number, but we can open that here. And then you start to see more about Lisa's organization. So I want you all to go do that because again, I want you to give your $1, your $10, your $100, your $1,000, your $1 million, no limits. And if you got more than that, give those too. And so I'm going to stop sharing so that Lisa has the opportunity to tell us more about her fund.
So Change We Seek. So Change We Seek was sort of an opportunity that my family, so the board is my husband and my 2 adult children. And so we decided that we have been blessed beyond measure. We feel like from that standpoint, we're not wealthy, so I don't want to make that I don't want to make that assertion, but we felt like it was really important. We have a very good mentor. My father is very much into finances and always has been, and so he's been always very consistent with us about making sure that we are saving and we have a Roth and we know the rule of 72. Which just really quickly, if you don't know what the rule of 72 is, I do want to go ahead and say that. So the rule of 72 is that whatever number your interest rate is, so say your interest rate is 9% as far as growth is concerned, that goes into 72 8 times. So that literally means that whatever money you put in at that rate, your money will double every 8 years. And so that's how you kind of talk about like money in that way, which is why money grows faster than you think, because that money at a certain interest rate will actually double in this particular case, if it's a 9% yield and 8%, and it goes into 72 8 times at every 8 years. So that also works for on the back end. So if you're using credit cards and you're getting 18% interest, then that's why it takes forever to pay off credit cards. So working that backwards was something that we learned really, really early. And so, credit card debt and those types of things, we all had our forays into it, but because of his tutelage, we didn't get caught up in it. And so we are in a position where we could do that. And so we were able to pass it on to our kids. And so that was sort of one of those things where those really basic understandings, we realized that a lot of people didn't have those. The concept of having an emergency fund. It was like, you have money, you spend it, but things happen, we're in a pandemic, right? No one knew that was going to happen. So that's what an emergency fund is for. And how do you do that? And teaching our kids along the way to do that was something that we felt. And we saw so many people get into situations and make decisions that were money motivated, that we felt like that one turn could have been us at any point. And so Change We Seek was literally, homage to President Obama's "We are the change we seek." And so us creating this fund is really specifically about creating financial independence for Black and Brown families, to get them to the education, the training, the resources that they need as far as to learn about money and to learn some really basic tools, so that legacy of making decisions that are money motivated, that cause us to make sometimes some decisions that will be lifelong impact. For me personally, one of the things in particular, and that I really get very impassioned about, is the bail fund. And that kind of came from Sandra Bland. Everything about that story, that she shouldn't have gone to jail, the one thing that kept ringing in my head was that $500 possibly was the reason that she didn't get out. And that has always just sort of I just felt like that was something that we should have had. Like, we should have had a process to be able to make sure that didn't happen. We are incarcerated at much higher rates, and sometimes that money that we don't have to be able to get someone out of harm's way or put us in harm's way because of a little, what I would consider to be a little amount of money when we talk about someone's life. And so Change We Seek became a catalyst for us to say, we have got to, if you know better, and Maya Angelou, if you know better, you got to do better, right? So teaching people about financial stability for long-term solutions is really what we're making sure, so that people can make decisions that are not money motivated. And so we focus on Black and Brown families. We focus on nonprofits that specifically serve that community, and making sure that they have the resources so that for a lifetime they can change the legacy, and that when things happen, that they are not in a position to do things that will be detrimental to their well-being, and in Sandra's case, literally her life. Change We Seek that's literally what we said. It'll be the change we seek. We will be that change. And so that's our mission behind Change We Seek.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I always, you always submit the need for bail funds when we talk about that. And I see in the chat, you all should see that Kelly has posted the Nashville Community Bail Fund. It is a local fund available for people. Their real mission is to say that no one should have to sit in jail just because you might not have the money to make your bail. And particularly if we're going to believe that you are innocent until proven guilty, then you should be able to go through the same due process that someone who is wealthy is able to do. And what I know from my experience with the National Community Bail Fund is that when we don't have access to that money, then what you're talking about, Lisa, has the potential to happen. I stand behind that. Sandra Bland was intentionally harmed while she was in that facility. And we've seen that happen many times before, and we'll continue to see that until we give opportunities for people to be able to get out of their situation, out of a jail situation. Audra, do you have a particular organization or fund that you would like to bring to everybody's understanding so they can learn more about what it is that we do and how we support those organizations?
Yes, I'm a giver to a lot of funds, but have not yet established fund until such time. But my husband and I have been talking about something. But Pink Christmas is the fund that I'd like to talk about and encourage everyone to go out there and take a look at. When one of our advisory committee members recommended this organization to me, this nonprofit to me, I'd never heard of them until I looked on their website, and I thought, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. I remember, oh, so that's who this is. Pink Christmas CEO is Miss Felicia Pratt, who's a native Nashvilleian, and her cohort, if you will, is Miss Mary Bryant. And from my understanding, this is an organization that when women are, especially women of color, are given the diagnosis of breast cancer, a lot of times they are alone and have problems and just, I can't imagine, but I can imagine, because yet again is another thing that's dear to my heart. Breast cancer is, my mother had breast cancer, and at a very late stage in her life when she found out. And she was in rural East Tennessee, and honestly didn't receive the care. But what Pink Christmas does is they have something that they call the Day of Diagnosis. And once they have someone reach out to them that they have been diagnosed with breast, they have a kit that they put together, and they walk through the process of being there, being a counselor, if you will, being a resource, because Ms. Pratt has been doing this for I think 12 years here in Nashville. And as I said, I didn't know her personally, but I had heard of her work. And it's just something that is there. They walk through them, go through them with their um, appointments, and are just a resource, a valuable resource in the middle of the night. But then also once they come through the chemo and God willing, it's positive on the other side, then they're there with them to help celebrate. So the 2 days that are important, the day that they finish the chemo and get hopefully the clear bill of health, and then also the day they're diagnosed. So Pink Christmas is a wonderful resource for Black women, and they encouraged us to get the mammograms. And she said during this time of the pandemic, a lot of folks we know would not be going to those mammograms, and early detection is something that's very critical. So if you will, Pink Christmas, I think Kelly's going to put up their information and telephone number and Ms. Pratt's number. Please reach out to them. You won't regret it.
Yeah, I really appreciate, I've known Felicia and her family for quite some time, just from our church experience. And I don't know that I was even aware. So that's exactly what happens in our community, is that we have so many organizations. And one of the things that Audra has really worked diligently on is trying to get as many of them into our system as possible, so that we have one place of opportunity for you to give. And so you can go to the website, blackgivingback.com, and there's a list there, right there with the funds. We also have a list of nonprofits, and we encourage you to go there. There are 2 funds in particular that I want to highlight. And then I know that Lisa has one that has an opening very soon. So we want to talk about how we get them over the hump. But the Find Design and Women of Color Collaborative are 2 that I want to highlight. So the Find Designs Foundation really is about girl-centered programming, particularly for young girls of color, really helping them to have that emotional strength and that resistance to whatever's happening in their environment. So they have a safe space for cultural experiences and overcoming those barriers and building relationships. I believe, and I met one of the founders maybe a year or 2 ago. And I really was encouraged from that because of my own background working in social services well before I got into having my own business, really working with young women and helping them to see the value of themselves. And that's what a lot of what we're talking about even here is, do you see the value? Does the community see the value in us? And part of that starts with us having to also do our work to see the value in ourselves, so that we're not dissuaded when someone doesn't see us as valuable. We still understand our worth in that. And then the other organization is Women of Color Collaborative. I have provided support to them in the past when they've done campaigns. And really what they do is create an intentional and safe space for women, particularly women of color, to help the impact that's happening on generational societal trauma. And I think we can all agree we're in communal trauma right now. So more than ever, it's important for us to align with organizations that are really working on reducing our relationship with trauma, or at least helping us have a place where we can have conversation about what trauma may look like in our lives. So those 2 organizations, but there are many more. On the flip side, I'd love to even bring up My Brother's Keeper. I'm not sure if they're yet in our system, but we will get them there. But they're really working similarly to Lisa's encouragement. They're working on the initiative with that former President Obama has around My Brother's Keeper, and really ensuring that there's a stronger pipeline and pathway for young men for mentorship. And I remember having a conversation with them before they got started. And I said, as a mother of a young son, young Black son in particular, I said, there's only a couple places he can go, but it's usually after he's gotten into trouble. So he's either already been in trouble and he's on the other side of that, or he's about to get in trouble and they're looking to mitigate that. But I want to get way before that. And so My Brother's Keeper is really working to do that, to make sure that before there's trouble or before there's even a sign of that, we can help to mitigate that. So Lisa, I know you have an organization you'd like to highlight, and again, because the primary thing is to make sure that you all give today. This is Give Black, Give Back Day, as deemed by Mayor John Cooper. The resolution is in the comments. I know that Kelly will post it again, and we'll post it on all the social platforms as well. But this is the day. There are lots of days to give. We give as much as you can. But in particular, I'd love to see that we have supported Black organizations that are supporting Black communities today. I would love to be able to show the leadership at Community Foundation that this is what the community can do for Give Black, Give Back. So please give, please give, please give more. Lisa, go ahead and share what organization you want to highlight today.
So I'm going to get to my organization, but my dad went to TSU. So I have to say the TSU funds, or when he sees this, we would have some issues. So TSU, there's a legacy fund there that actually is one of the newer funds. I think Kelly's going to put it up in the feed. And so make sure that you're supporting TSU in any way that you can. Dr. Glover is doing an amazing job, and all the things that she's done. I just saw her on a post just recently, but that particular fund is set aside, as a legacy fund. So TSU grads out there, make sure you look it up. We are supporting TSU. So I got that out of the way for my dad. Now, so the National Museum of African American Music is opening up here in Nashville. So I know you guys have been hopefully anticipating that. I know we've changed up a couple of things given the current conditions, but the museum is just about ready to go. I think they're starting to already have events there virtually. I know a couple organizations that are already doing some things there using that space, at least to virtually sort of simulate the experience of being in it. So that is the only, as far as I know, history or museum, National Museum for African American History, and it is going to be something that Nashville should be very proud of. And so my family and myself are donors of that particular organization, and so I encourage you to support. We talk about leaving legacy. I think we talked about on Tuesday. Leaving a legacy is not what you leave, but what you live. And so living and doing the things now that you can actually make those things happen, that's how you end up leaving a legacy, is how you live today. And I believe that music has contributed to not only Nashville, but being named by the Music City, because of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, but also across the nation and the world impacted music. And so this museum is long overdue, and Nashville has been honored to be able to host that. And so I think giving back to that organization and making sure that we are supporting them in any endeavor that we can, doing events, giving money, participating in any way you can, I would strongly suggest you do that. And the great thing about you get something back immediately, right? So we talk about Black giving back. They give to you music for all of us who turn on the radio, who listen to all the radio stations, who have Spotify and who, and all the different things that we listen to music on. They've already given to us, so it's time for us to give back to the music community. And I think this is a really great way, and a way for Nashville to really support a great endeavor that will set us apart from any place else in the world.
Very good. I'm sorry, I was looking at the comments. So I want to give a few more shout outs to some of the great folks. So Jaquita Mazon, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Audra is always writing and supportive, walks the talk. So she's giving a good shout out to Audra. Pat Lawson also says Audra is amazing. She's so resourceful and inspiring to those of us who work with her. So we appreciate that. Y'all are going to make Audra cry, which is going to make me cry. But that's okay. We love the love.
We're a team. We're a team.
We love the love. We are in this journey together, so we appreciate that. I know there's a couple more comments. Angela Lindsay says, thank you for being a resource for learning about nonprofits that we can support. Could you talk about specific nonprofits that focus on the needs of children in trauma, in need of mental health support? Thank you for all you do to help our community. So in particular, there's a few organizations. There's actually lots of them I could think through and list. One in particular that's on our website under nonprofits is going to be Gideon's Army. They do work in the 37208 zip code, but they also can provide that trauma support and restorative justice support across the city. So I highlight them as an organization that can really do that. They do have trauma-informed counselors who are on their team, social workers who are on their team to do that. I also think this is where I can give a plug for how we can have some greater systems change. So there are organizations like Nurture the Next, which is formerly Prevent Child Abuse Tennessee. There is Opportunity Now, which is our Opportunity Youth age group 16 to 24. It's a government agency. There's Oasis Center, and there's many, many, many more, particularly who are working in the behavioral health spectrum. What I will say is that it's a good opportunity for you to encourage them to partner with an organization that is Black led, so that when our young people, because we know the numbers, and I'm working on some mental health system improvement work, so these numbers are really fresh for me, but when we see the numbers of individuals who are coming through, we are often still seeing very high numbers of Black individuals. And so we've got to make sure that the practitioners that are working with them and on their behalf get access to not just a couple of dollars, but they actually get access to do real triage work, particularly in a trauma space. So while we're highly encouraging people to give to organizations that are Black led and support Black individuals, we also have to recognize that to do greater system change work, then we also want you to push for those organizations that I just mentioned to partner in a real big way with organizations that are also doing the work, so that they can grow and sustain and then build their legacy of giving back to someone else. See, what happens is a very cyclical effect. When our organizations grow, when our funds grow, the organizations grow. When those organizations grow, they mentor other organizations and they are able to grow as well. So we do this really beautiful cyclical piece within our community. And then there's an opportunity for us to have real economic strength. And there's an opportunity for us to have real impact within our community. So I thank you for that question, Angela. And of course, there are several other organizations, and I'm happy to provide more if needed. Jaquita Mason, she also echoed that we need somewhere for young Black boys to get intervention before they get in trouble. That's a big issue for her. It's a big issue for me. Everybody on this call has Black sons. And so it's a big issue for all of us. And so we echo that as well with you, and want to work. That's what our funds are here to do. And that's what other funds can do. So if we get more money, we get more opportunity to have more of those opportunities. Let's see. Who else? So thank you to everybody. Okay, so Kelly has put in all the links of the organizations below that we have just shared. Let's get to, we're kind of about to get close to our time here, but are there any other organizations we want to highlight, any other funds? I do want to pull up the screen in just a moment to really highlight our leadership team and give them some love. But Audra, Lisa, any other thoughts about the funds we need to highlight today?
Yes, Kia, when you were mentioning about organizations that help our young Black boys with the energy that they have, there are some great sports-minded funds that are out there. The Build Up Foundation, they have a website and a Given Matters profile. There's also an organization that's basketball led called Team Tay. I'm working with them to get their Given Matters profile up, but they work with, this individual works with youth who play basketball, keeps them engaged, keeps them off the streets, mentor them, picks them up, takes them to and fro gyms to engage safely. But also sometimes, a lot of times we look at some of these organizations to be a babysitter, if you will, and they're actually doing work that parents are not able to do, simply because they could be frontline workers or just have other things that are going on. So it's important for us to reach out there and to highlight and support financially these organizations as well. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to
Just
say.
real quick,
No, go ahead, Lisa. You got it.
Okay, just really quickly, I know there was a couple more that we had written down. I want to make sure we get to those as well. Backfield in Motion, I know it was one of the groups that we are working with as well. The Achiever Academy, Positive Self-Imaging and Career Leadership for Girls. So for the young ladies out there, we did not forget you. And there's other organizations. Courtney Hale over at Knowledge Bank, which you guys hopefully met yesterday. If you're not, go back and take a look. Purpose Prep Academy, as well is another opportunity for youth between youth to 4th grade. So that's boys and girls. So I think another great opportunity as for a foundation or for nonprofits that you can contribute directly to.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up Courtney, because that was exactly where I was going. I always tell Lisa we're so in sync that it gets a little scary sometimes, but that's exactly what I was thinking was, though it's not specific to young boys or young girls, what I know is important is to have a Black male figure to be a part of your life in some way. And so with the programs that he has, so if you have a group of young men or young women or a mixed group, then I've worked with Courtney in providing classes before and workshops before. He does an excellent job in engaging young people. He has a very young daughter who stays very engaged in the financial literacy. And that's another place where we very much so, I believe, in sports and utilizing sports, particularly for that energy. I also want to make sure our young people understand that there is both and, that if you happen to be in sports, then we need to understand the business or finances of what that looks like. Or if you never have an interest in sports, there's also opportunity for you to learn about the financial industry, the tech industry. There's a number of programs out there. And so I would say as parents, we have to continue to encourage for there to be Black role models. Thank you, Jaquita, for being in sync with me, because I was looking at you and thinking that, and so that is perfect timing as well. Speaking of Courtney, I also always want to bring up the fund that he has at the Community Foundation, the Tia Barber Hale OGOT Legacy Fund. It's one that's very near and dear to me. It's personally very dear to me, as Tia was a middle school peer and was also the occupational therapist for my son, and was absolutely excellent. And we miss her and feel it every single day. And so I think it's important. What Courtney mentioned yesterday was really critical, which is that we want more young people to have access to a strong person in their life when there's nothing wrong. Again, when I engaged with Tia, it was not necessarily anything wrong. It was all the right things I needed to make sure I understood about him that she was able to help me with. And so I know that we can get more through your help. We can get more occupational therapists in our Metro Nashville Public Schools who are culturally competent, who are sensitive, who are gifted and guided. And so I want to make sure that we call that up. And I know that you will continue to share, comment, and gift on behalf of that fund. I just know it. I feel that you will do that. Before we go, I want to pull up our advisory committee, because very often you see Lisa and I. Most presently, you see Audra, but there are lots of folks behind the scenes, and it's important that we call up and call out our leadership team in that way. So I'm going to pull that up, share my screen so you can see that. And so our advisory group, we have Eric Brown, who's in the mayor's office. We have Mr. Ron Corbin, who almost everybody in the city of Nashville should probably know his name or face, but he is with Allstate and has been for quite some time, does really great work. Mrs. Barbara Gray is retired, but a retired educator, and keeps us really honest in that, and making sure that we keep kids in the forefront. And I'm always grateful to her. We have Brandon Hill, who was formerly in the mayor's office and with Oasis Center, but now is working with the with the soccer club. I'm sorry. He's working with them, and you see my face. And we have a wonderful friend, Jennifer Oldham. She's over at the Healing Trust. She actually is one of the only senior staff members in working at a philanthropic fund so a foundation in our city or in our probably in our state. So she's been really helpful. And then of course you see Lisa's beautiful face, and her husband Antonio Young is there. And then of course Audra is always, she's on every page because she's always the most critical to making sure that you get in touch with us. So please visit this page, learn more about our advisory committee. We could not do this exceptional work without their support, without their push, and we are grateful to them. Let's go ahead and start making a wrap for this. I'm going to look and see if we have any more comments, and I don't see any. I know that we're really grateful for everybody joining in. We've had lots of viewers to come in. Audra, what last thoughts do you have?
I just like to read a quick poem, and I will leave it at that. Okay, it's by Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. It's called Just a Minute. Okay, I've only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it, forced upon me. Can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to me how I use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give an account if I abuse it. Just a tiny minute, but eternity is in it. Thank you and give.
Oh, that was so brilliant. I can't wait to look up that poem and print that and put that on my wall. I think that is so critical to the time that we're in, that my grandmother often says that it's only ever today. We never get to tomorrow, because when the perception of tomorrow comes, we're sitting back in today. And so that poem really does cement that for me. Lisa, last thoughts, last points that you want to make.
I think, I'm going to go to a quote as well. And it's basically Sonia Sanchez is like, the easiest way to take someone's power away is to make them think they don't have it. And so for me, that speaks philanthropy specifically. It's like, we have the power. I'm giving you the numbers, $11 billion. But we somehow don't think that we have the power to make the changes that are necessary. And because of that, make those changes, you have the power, you have the control to be able to do this. You know, our ancestors have done this before. We've been through this and we've gotten through. We came through the Middle Passage for those of us who are descendants of those who chose to survive. So we have the power within us. Don't let anyone else take that away. Philanthropy can be our power of how we get things done and how we make stuff happen. So share your story. Make sure you share your story. Your story is important. You know, comment, give us, you know, all the information, you know, join the community foundation, start a foundation, but more importantly, give intentionally to Black-led organizations, and we will regain our power.
Yes, thank you so much, Lisa. It's such a pleasure to co-chair with you and to see this vision realized with you. I'm so grateful for that. Speaking of sharing stories, on our website, blackgivingback.com, there's actually a section for you to share your story. So please write those things. We often know that in history, and I'm particularly talking about Black history, that we have a lot of oral stories, but when we do not document them or memorialize them, which is why this is so important, then it has the potential to be changed and narrated in ways that aren't the integrity of how it was shared. So we ask you to document those stories, to honor your families, to honor your legacy, whoever is coming after you, by writing that down and really putting pen to paper. Similarly, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot for a long time, and I just need to do it. So I'm also saying this on camera so that it happens, is take your phone and or pen and paper and take it to your elders in your family or around your neighborhood or in your faith institution and ask them questions, because there's so much knowledge that we just don't have. And the reason we started this week with the past was because if we don't know the history, we are absolutely bound to repeat it. We are absolutely bound to keep ourselves embedded in the lack of. And as Lisa just mentioned, we have to reclaim in some way our ability to have more than, because we do. I want to make sure that we shout out those folks behind the scenes. So Pat Embry, Kelly Wahlberg, who has been, every time I say something or anybody says something on the phone, she immediately gets it into the links. That takes skill, let me just tell you. So we're so grateful to Kelly for her allegiance and her alliance with us. Amy and Ellen and everybody in the Community Foundation office. There's so many more people, Belinda and it et al. Because everybody, we want them to know that we're grateful for the opportunity to sit in our truth and to be able to share these stories. All week, you've been seeing these amazing shirts. I have to make sure that I call out Cashville, etc., who has made sure that they supplied us with these shirts. I am looking to create a store for us to be able to sell these shirts so that you can also, that can be a part of how you give philanthropically. We're working out those details and we'll get them up to you as soon as we can. This is still Black Philanthropy Month. Please, please don't let today be the last time that you look at Black-led funds or Black-led nonprofits, or that you give. We want giving all the time, but in particular, today is Give Black, Give Back Day by Mayor John Cooper, and that is something to celebrate about. We're going to sign off for now, but please continue to share your stories. Please continue to go to the website. Please continue to share these videos, but most importantly, please remember to give Black. Bye, y'all.